Okay, so as most of you know, I'm Lydia Sprague, and I'll be talking about the power of your testimony. So, okay, so the definition of your testimony. So you have a worldly and you have a godly. A worldly is a formal written, or it's a spoken statement usually given in a court of law. And then you have a godly definition. It's a witness, evidence, or a way to share one's faith. So the importance of your testimony. The importance is far greater than we can even imagine. A few of them is it can lead people to Christ, influence the world around you. It can boost your relationship with God, especially when you're going out and sharing your testimony over and over again. You're going to want to dig deeper into His Word. It can even change someone's whole view on God, because I've encountered a lot of people that have had a bad encounter with someone that has faith or like is a Christian. And so you just kind of have to be careful on how you act around them or what you say around them, just to be sure that you're sharing His love and His faith through your actions. And it can let people know that there's someone that loves us no matter what we go through, because life gives us challenges no matter, it's not just all butterflies and rainbows. So you're going to go through some things and He's always there. So when to give it? There's no exact time to give a testimony, and I think the best time to give it is when you least expect it, and God will put you in the right place with the right people at the right time. You could be walking through Walmart and someone just random and you have to share your testimony, or in my case, I went to work not thinking anything of it, and this guy came in and immediately I just felt an urge to ask him if he knew the Lord. And it took me a minute because he was just trying to buy a purse for his wife, and he wanted a certain one, so I actually sent him over to McBain Grain to see if they had it. And while he was over there, I just felt like an overwhelming urge to ask him, so I was praying that he'd come back, and he did come back, and he found what he needed. And right before he walked out, I asked him, I was like, do you know the Lord? And he kind of just guessed, like second guessed it for a second. I was like, what? So I asked him again, and immediate tears filled his eyes. And so I was like, uh-oh, what am I supposed to say? Because I didn't really know, like I've never had that happen. And I kind of shared a little bit of my testimony, and part of my testimony is that I struggled with other people drinking, and I also struggled with anger and yelling, and so I shared that with him, and he actually told me that he struggled with that, and he asked me, he was like, do you smell it on me? And I didn't smell anything, and he continued to tell me that he was an alcoholic. He also told me that his wife's sister's kids were living with him, and so it was just a very big mess going on in the house, and he didn't really know like how to handle it all, so he was struggling with yelling. And so we just kind of talked about it, and it was a very overwhelming sense of joy that I got from sharing my testimony and sharing the Lord's faith with someone else that really didn't know about Him. So you have stories in the Bible. So you have the woman at the well, the demon-possessed man, Paul's testimony, and the blind man. And really all of these is someone going, like the Lord's healing them or giving them something, and He's telling them to go back and tell people about what happened. And actually the term testimony comes from Hebrew word yud, which actually means do again. So the Lord's telling you, like, just keep sharing your testimony, and it's never going to come out the exact same. It's never going to, like, even with this presentation, the more you do it, it's just not everything's going to be perfectly lined up. So we have conquered Him. It is important to share a testimony because it's our weapon. Revelation 12:11 says, they have conquered Him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not let their lives to shrink as from death. So I also did a few interviews, so here they are.
I would just want them to know that there's no situation that God can't come in and turn around, and that He is there in the moments that you least expect it, and there's hope on the other side.
Never. Even before I was saved, I've always believed that God was out there somewhere. And once He came to me and revealed Himself to me, then it was very simple. Well, answered by someone else who observes my life, I suppose. But what does it look like? Imperfect. But I want to know him, and he knows my heart. And any good thing in me, he put in there. So it's difficult for me to describe what I think my relationship with him looks like, but I hope it is a friendship, a lordship, a sonship, servantship, etc.
Okay, so people that influenced me. There's a big group of people that influenced me, but one of them is being my mom. She's always loved to talk and share her testimony, and with anyone that's with her. So here's a little peek into her testimony.
So a little bit of my testimony, I didn't grow up in a normal home, very broken family, a lot of mental dysfunction, moving around all the time, never had any kind of stability, and ended up leaving home, really no direction as to what I was supposed to be doing. And looking back, God had me taken care of, and I didn't see that at the time, but I definitely know like he was protecting me and watching over me during some really rough years. And just getting to know him and building that relationship and seeing how different my life is compared to the track that it was on, which was definitely destruction. I'm just so grateful, and I just literally cannot explain how grateful I am. So a little bit of my testimony. I didn't grow up in.
Okay, so my testimony. So a little bit about it is I've struggled with anger, frustration, I've struggled with yelling, and kind of I was just not very joyful. And I did grow up in a very wonderful household, but you all struggle with like little things. And so I didn't really come to like have my own relationship with God. I felt like it was kind of just under my parents. And so I was like, yeah, I know him, but I didn't really know him. And so I feel like that also came into why I struggled with anger and frustration, and I struggled with yelling. I just wasn't joyful. And so the Lord has brought me out of that. Yeah, I do struggle with it sometimes, but he's definitely brought me a lot more joy, and I love to share that with other people now. Okay, well, the next one is my time at NMC. So when I came to NMC, I struggled with work and school, like just doing my homework, and I was at McBain Public for up until 6th grade. And I asked multiple times, and then finally, we were actually in McDonald's drive-thru, and my dad's like, hey, what do you think about going to NMC? And when he told me that, I thought all problems would go away, because it's a Christian school, and there would be nothing going on, there would be no bad. I would be perfect in school, all my grades would be perfect. Well, I was very wrong, very, very wrong. And you will have problems wherever you go, whatever school you go to, there will always be problems. So I learned very quickly that that's not the case. And what NMC has brought me is actually my best friend, Ellie. So if you know Ellie, she is full of joy, and she just, the way she walks, the way she carries herself, that's all she has is just full of joy. And so I struggle with that, and so she definitely has learned how to kind of manage my up and down roller coaster. It's been definitely a roller coaster, but I've learned so much on how to be joyful through just Ellie, which I think you should all find yourself a friend that will lead you closer to God and bring you so much joy. So thank you for coming to my presentation.
You done?
No questions?
No, I'm going for a hug.